Everybody, here's another video today. We're going to go straight at it. You see the title, The Price of Freedom. Are you willing to pay the price of freedom? And, at first blush, many people will say, yeah, I'm willing to pay the price. But then we look at them in other areas of life. There are people that are literally obese right now. That might be you. And you've told yourself that you were willing to pay the price to keep your weight however it was. Or maybe you've been obese since childhood, and that's all you know because your parents raised you to be obese. Either way, you see other people that are not obese, and you've made a conscious decision that you are not willing to pay the price to keep your weight at a healthy maintenance level. There are others that have just rationalized and said, I'm not fat because another person is bigger than you, but you actually are. So there are many people that have rationalized, I'm not broke because this person's worse off than me. So when we ask, are you willing to pay the price of freedom? This isn't just my freedom is over there and I just got to jump over this because I'm already halfway there. Shout out to SpongeBob. All right. This is more like wherever you are, whatever you're willing to do, whatever that yardstick is, if you're willing to run a mile for your freedom, the price of freedom is half a mile longer. If you're willing to run 5 miles, the price of freedom is half a mile longer. If you're willing to run a marathon, 26.2 miles, the price of freedom is another 5 miles longer. Are you willing to put in that extra amount of effort? Because a lot of times what we do is we see something and then we have a goal or something, but we aren't really pushing ourselves to the max level that we could go. Now with AI, I wonder if that's going to make us more I want to use the word submit, but I don't think that's the right word. Complacent in areas, or will it force us to compete? Because I wonder, does biology take over between men and women and say, well, this, even if it's an inanimate object, because people are apparently having feelings for inanimate objects these days, but is this inanimate object that's here, my biological need to be protected for a woman is going to kick in when this inanimate object robot that's in front of me is doing the protecting. And this guy over here and all of these men, they don't seem like they wanted to protect me. And then the other way is the man saying, hey, this woman over here, these women are not being feminine. Hey, well, maybe we go to this feminine bot, quote unquote, although that wouldn't be the case. It's just they're simulating whatever they're doing. But I wonder if biology kicks in. I don't know. We're going to see over the next 10, 20, 30, 50 years. But until that point, are you going to be complacent while the world economy is growing? Let me show you something right here. Let's share the screen. And depending on if I got this on YouTube, which I am going to upload it on YouTube, but here we go. I think the screen is sharing right now. Let me double check. I'm recording this on Telegram, actually. So here it is. Yeah. So you see this. It's the visual capitalist, and they kind of got a bias or whatever they were doing to get this, because it says according to IMF projections. So it says according to IMF projections, obviously they're biased. They were projecting that Russia would fall in the economy and everything like that. I mean, China has already surpassed the U.S. when it comes to what is that? The purchasing power, PPP, purchasing power parity versus the GDP. Or it's like the real GDP or something like that. China has already slightly surpassed USA. But even these numbers right here, they're very close. Even with GDP to GDP, I think these numbers have adjusted where China's like 24 or something like that. And USA is 25. It's like real close. It's even closer than this. But also they projected that Russia would fall in the economy, and that it did fall. But then turns out Russia is stronger than it's ever been this year and projected to even grow further. So those are some of the biases here. But with that being said, Because some metrics I see is 116 trillion, and then it says 105. This is visual, so this will do for now. The numbers being slightly different by a few trillion between the biggest economies, that's not that big of a deal. All right. So we're going to take this as it's only about anyway, 9 trillion, 11 trillion dollar difference. And most of that difference would be China absorbing it, Russia having a little bit more, USA probably having more. So that's really just running off more of the same. So now let's look at this. Let's look at this. If we were to say that, okay, here's Africa's GDP. Let's go down here. Because anywhere where it says the continent of Africa is somewhere, and it doesn't show it here. I just remembered. Let's say it's anywhere from 1.9 trillion to 2.5 trillion. Oh, here it is. North Africa. It says Nigeria. Here are the largest economies. So Nigeria is 500 billion, and that seems to be about the case even with those other adjusted numbers, is that they were having that. Middle East, Saudi Arabia. So Middle East includes Africa and Asia. I don't like that term at all, and most of the world does not use that. So, but anyway, right now, Africa's sitting anywhere between basically 2 and 2.5 trillion for the GDP. When you look at this number right here, and you're considering, okay, what are we going to do going forward? Well, according to the African Development Bank, according to the Brookings Institute, which actually has people that represent the African Development Bank. So Brookings Institute had a fellow or somebody that was a researcher, and they were representing their own cause. They're talking about, hey, Africa is going to be, from some of the projections I saw, anywhere from 16 trillion to the 30 trillions. And even some have predicted that Africa's, let's say African Union will be larger than the European Union's economy. All right. Now, it's funny how Russia's included in Europe here. And I can see that from a legacy standpoint, but most of it's in Asia. So I'm just saying, technically they're European, but most of it is in Asia. Just kind of like saying North America. You're not about to say just because the countries are run by Europeans that they are European. So I would put in as geographical standpoint, and that would be in Asia, because most of Russia is actually in Asia. But in any case, and they isolate Russia as if they're like, hey, we ain't part of you. So I'm like, look, that's in Asia. But how are you going to make money if you're in Africa? The group that I'm going to post this up to first is in Africa, but I'm going to talk to everybody. Those of us in the US, those of you in Asia, those of you in Europe. I don't think I have too many South Americans in my audience, but I do have the ones I just listed plus Africa. So we got a couple of Aussies that do follow me. What are you going to do as the money is flowing from the USA in Europe, from Canada and Europe, from other locations and Europe into China, into the rest of Asia, not really including Japan. No, it's actually flowing out of Japan. That's weakening. Flowing somewhat into India, flowing all over Africa, particularly East Africa and Kenya, maybe Uganda when it comes to the Asian market, but definitely not the US with all of the sanctions there. But there is a lot of money. Let's say that by 2050, Africa is at 2.5 trillion. Let's just use the higher number, 2.5 trillion. All right. If we were to take 2.5 trillion and then increase that, let's go up to 30. You've now over 10 times the economy. And that doesn't get evenly distributed. That is impossible, and it will not happen that it gets evenly distributed. I can't say impossible, but it seems impossible with the way humanity is set up now, because there's always a chance. But it will not get evenly distributed. So from now till then, you got a chance to go over 10 times the size of where it is right now. The fastest growing middle class is actually in the African continent. Did you guys know that? The fastest growing middle class is in Africa. in the world. So with that prosperity, with the birth rates, with all of the young people, these companies are going to pander to you and pander and pander and say, we need to get this 35 and younger. And most of the median age, what is that, 21, 20, 19, depending on what year and what they're looking at, anywhere from 19 to 21 years old. Let's take the largest number again, 21. The median age, that means the middle age of all of Africa. And I think the average is only a few years higher, it might be 26. Either way, that means they got at least a decade of you plus longer. You know why you want to get under the age of 35 and the young folk? Because that holds you for another 20 freaking years at least. If you get a 35-year-old, by the time they're getting ready to get out of the workplace and their money goes down, because when it comes to the numbers, and I should show you these, right now I'm not going to show it. You can always look this up. The men start to explode in their 30s. They're waddling around in our 20s. Then when we get to about mid-30, we start to take off like a plane that's getting off of the runway right there. Whatever the reason is, you could say chasing booty, chasing whatever the guys are doing, right? Whatever the men are doing that's leading up to that, it don't matter too much, right? It don't matter too much. See, let's share this. Maybe the guys are looking like this. This is what they're like, hey, we're in our 20s. Hey, we trying to go after this one right here. Hey, look, we just trying to do this. They got it younger than us. Man, she looks good. We're going after her. Hey, we're going after some looks. We're going after what we can get. And then somewhere along the way, this is what happens. So you start off with a group, and this is for men and women, but we're going to focus on the guy for a second. So you start off in a group and you're all smiling, and this is your homeboys, your homegirls, right? Or this is even other people. And you got yourself a portrait. You said, we're going to digitize this a little bit, use whatever we're going to use. We're all here. And you all smiled. You're there. And you're in your 20s. Maybe you're even in your 30s. Early 30s. And then this is what happens. Life comes around and then you realize here's where you end up. You're successful, and where is everybody that started with you? Where is everybody that started with you? You got to fight against the world. This is not you taking them out, by the way. All of this blood right here, this is not you taking them out. This is you have to fight and scrape and fight and scrape and survive, metaphorically. And we know how it feels mentally. To fight and scrape, stay up sleepless nights, staying up, trying to make a name for yourselves, trying to get these accomplishments done, trying to do more than what other people are doing. And then you finally get there and you look around and you look back at that picture and you say, where's she at? Where's she at? Where's he at? Where are all of them at? And then you realize virtually none, in most cases, none of those people that were with you in the beginning are there now. When they say it's lonely at the top, and it's not you abandoning them necessarily, it's them abandoning you. You decided to change. They wanted you to be the same. They were not growing at the same rate you were growing, so things had to happen. If you continue to be there, you continue to be where you're at. So when this money is flowing into Africa, when this money is flowing into the Caribbean, and actually it's starting to ban the Caribbeans now. So this is very interesting. The Caribbeans are starting to stand up for themselves. And at the same time, they're starting to ban these passports that just have you being able to go to all over the place. Isn't that very interesting? Black people standing up for themselves, and they start banning our asses. But when you wanted to play the game with them, they were completely okay. Hold on just a second. My rabbit is chewing all over some box. Give me just a moment. Matter of fact, I don't think that sound is distracting, so I'll just leave it alone. So you started off with this group of people, and then it went somewhere else. But here, let's go back to what we started with. Let's go back to this money right here. Let's go back to the development. Are you going to allow yourself to see that there's a middle class and you just float up because a rising tide lifts all boats, but you're comparatively in the same exact spot that you were. You got a little bit more electricity that's on. You got water, but you're still where you're at. Are you willing to pay the price of freedom? Do you still want to be a cog in the wheel? Ultimately, you're still going to be one anyway. No matter what impact we make now, very few of us will be remembered long-term in history. That's not the point. When I say cog in the wheel, I mean it as in you were here and barely anybody knew your impact. Not because you made a ripple in the sand and you had a footprint there and that lasted and it had to take a few waves in order to erase it. No, you were there like a little tiny other speck of sand or even smaller, and there was actually no indentation at all. None at all. Nothing extraordinary about you. Nothing extraordinary about the women that you were around. Nothing extraordinary about the accomplishments. And it's all because you were afraid to put in the work. All because you did not want to run those extra kilometers. All because you didn't want to run the proper workout that you were supposed to do. If you're a sprinter, you need to do short sprints, long sprints, not mid-distance running. Not 30-minute runs so that you can get faster on your sprints. That's not how it works. At least it's not the most efficient. You could be getting in your own way and you might still be some level of success, but you could have been further if you do the proper thing. And in the beginning, we're figuring it out. And as I said, this 35 and younger group, the reason why they want to get that group so badly is that if you get them when they're kids, think about this. If they get you when you're a child, what happens when they have the 20th anniversary? Now you're 35. They got you at 15. Now you're 35 when your money's starting to take off. And here they got the Super Mario anniversaries. They got the Pokemon anniversaries. They got the Power Ranger anniversaries all happening right around each other. These things came out in the 80s. Then they had their 20th anniversary. Some of them came out in the 80s. They had their 20th. Now they got the 50th year anniversary. So you were a kid. Then they hit the nostalgia with the older group that were 35. Here's 20 more years on them. They are still at their financial peak because the men then accelerate again in their 40s and once again, slightly again in their 50s. And then it starts to go down or level off and maintain. This is why they want to get the 35 and younger. Not just 35 and up or 40 and younger. It's because right around that 55, it's the 20-year thing. It's the generational thing. They typically count generations by 20 years, give or take, because some generations have been designated shorter and some have been longer. But they have averaged them at 20 years. This is why they want to do it. This is why these numbers right here are important, that we project ourselves out for the next 20, 25 years. Where are you going to be in that period of time? And now you might say, man, that's a long time to think. I don't know if I want to make the sacrifice that long, but guess what? 25 years is going to come, no matter if you want it to or not. So that's why I broke it down to 1,827 days. And today on this video is day 2, October 2nd, 2023. Hate to date these videos, but there you go. This is day 2. We started our 5-year journey yesterday. This is day number 2 of 1,827 days. That's 2 extra days for the 2 leap years that are in between that of this 5-year journey. Where will we be in the next 5 years? And then the next 5 years after that, in the next 5 years after that, in the next 5, and there's 20 right there. And then the next 5, there's 25. We bit it off in chunks. Then we turned those chunks into bite-sized portions, aka days. If 25 years, 100 years, 200, 500 years is too much, start dividing it up until it's not too much, and then putting each piece of the puzzle together. Because if the economy is on the rise through inflation or no matter what, okay, inflation goes up, your productivity needs to go up to beat inflation. Because what's going to happen is these organizations, these people will want to keep paying you the exact same price or lower it. So you need to do more to get more. Okay, you need to do more to get more. Are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to put in the effort? And so I've asked this so many times. Let's talk about something real here. They're talking about shrinking economies. Nothing's more shrinking than the United States, but it's floating on its world reserve currency. So it forces it on everybody else. That's going to end very, very, very soon. And you can still make money in a shrinking economy regardless. You can make money in a war-torn economy regardless, depending on what you are doing and what you're selling. So while all of these things are happening, we need to strategize. What's the strategy here? Well, we notice that money is now flowing. It hasn't been now flowing. It's more evident because it's popular. And I said this to people. These YouTubers that didn't want to do videos on Africa because, quote, no views were coming in. Now, from an economic standpoint, it makes sense. But then it's like they're always doing European history and Asian history and all of this. And it's like, yeah, Asian history isn't necessarily watched as much either. Seems like there is an agenda. Now they're all of a sudden, in the last 1 year, all of a sudden now pandering, because that's what that is, pandering, and pretending as if they had Africa's back the entire time. These history YouTube channels and history YouTubers. They're like, nobody will watch them. I want to do this, but nobody's watching them. Okay, great. We don't need you to be, we don't need you to be one of those people that's going to sacrifice their business. Understandable. What you all need to do is, because the money's coming into Africa, why don't you open up a farm? Don't they got cocoa that needs to be sold? Don't they got, shea plants and shea butter that needs to be sold? Don't they have, what is that, avocados that need to be sold? That can make you billions of dollars alone, because there's a huge ass avocado industry for the United States. They got a whole avocado board of directors and everything that they're pushing it because it's, quote, heart healthy compared to something else, right? Is that the best thing to eat? Probably not. But because they can use that to their advantage, why don't you use it to yours? China eats a bunch of avocados, and they're actually importing them by a huge margin. Hey, they might not import from the United States anymore. That leaves a gap in the market. If you raise it the right way, it takes 4 years to actually grow the avocado plants because you have to do it in a certain way. If you plant it in the ground, it takes 15 years. But if you do it in some potted version or something like that, it takes 4. Now, that's going to take work. That literally takes the concentration. That's 4 out of your 5-year plan gone. What are you doing in between that time that you're going to build up something else? You got to build up those connections on the way there. You got to build up the investors on the way there. You start contacting people. Hey, this is what we got planned. Here's the market right here. This avocado industry. Let's look it up. I'll do it with you live, everybody, right here on the screen. Look on the screen. Let me pull up a screen on Google. First, let me stop sharing it for a second. All right. We're going to look at the size of the avocado market worldwide. Let's go 2023. All right. Here we go. All right. Here we go. Now we're going to do this. Very interesting. It says I'm not signed in. All right, give me a second, everybody. All right, so here we go. Here we go. Okay, it's not letting me share the screen, guys. Give me a second. No, I'm not going to edit this out either. No point in editing. Here we go. So, the size of the avocado market 2023. It says right here that it is 21.6 billion US dollars, because that's what 21,600, 300, and all of that stuff million is. It's pointed in millions. It's kind of weird how they do the millions. I don't know why they just don't do that. But then this one is projecting the avocado market to grow another 8 billion, basic 7.5 billion by 2031. So we're looking at this and what we got 7 years basically, because 2023 is almost over. So I never know if they say by the end of that year or by the beginning. So let's just say the bigger number, 8 years. 8 years. Remember when we were talking about making that 20 and 25-year plan and everything? Well, there you go. There's almost half of it right there, the growth. And 4 years of that 8 years, you're going to have your first crops of avocados already done. It might take you the next 1 year to secure funding for that, but you can go ahead and do that. That is there right there. So let's see. Global avocado market was projected here. Polaris. Let's look at Global News Wire. Let's see, because it's a bunch of different numbers projected here. Avocado, it says top country data analysis for United States, Canada, Mexico, Germany, United Kingdom, Russia, Italy, China, Japan, Korea. Korea? Interested that it says Korea, so that means North and South Korea together. India, Southeast Asia, Australia, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, etc. All right. It throws light on the progress of key regional avocado markets such as North America, Europe, Asia, Pacific, South America, and Middle East and Africa. You mean the whole world? What was the point of even saying all of that? Key regional avocado markets around the globe. That's what they could have said. But maybe for search engine purposes or whatever. Said originally cultivated in Mexico and Central America. Great. It says the Persea americana avocado tree is currently widely planted in tropical and Mediterranean climate areas. It's classified in the flowering plant family as blunt. Blah, blah, blah. There you go. Now, do you see you got over there in Africa, tropical climates. Tropical climate. Trees are partially self-pollinating. Oh, yeah, by the way, you need to have, you're probably going to have to buy some bees and place them around these plants. Because anything that has a flowering plant, you're going to have bees because they are the reason that plants grow with flowers. They literally take the nectar, take the pollen and everything. You need them. They might be partially self-pollinating, but they're not fully. You need bees. That's what you're going to have to get to. You can't just have the avocados and no bees. If you don't like bees, get over it. It's a job. It's money. It's a growth sector. That's what we got to do. That's why. Are you willing to make the sacrifices? Right? So in a nutshell, this report is a must read for industry players, investors, researchers, consultants, business strategists, and all those who have any kind of stake or are planning to foray into the market in any manner. So basically, anybody that's looking to make some money here, this is for you. And this is who I'm reaching out to here. This is just one of the things that you can do. We're not even talking about cosmetic and everything. Oh, wait a minute. On the basis of end user applications, this report focuses on the status and outlook for major applications, production, revenue, price, market structure, and growth rates for food, cosmetic. Isn't that funny how I just said that? I just looked this up right now. Cosmetic purposes. You know, like how those people put the avocados like literally on their eyes or something like that. There you go. Maybe you could make a cosmetic avocado cream. And, you know, you could charge higher prices for the cream than you can for the food itself. You can charge higher prices on behalf of that. Did you know that, as I'm getting a WhatsApp call, you can do higher prices? So then you got medical, you got other purposes. Now, these are all the things that they're going to go through in this, and this probably costs some money. You could get a lot of things without having to pay the price of those, but you got enough right here. It's going to take you a little bit longer in order to get some of these things done. So with that being said, I'm going to have to close out WhatsApp on my computer. Let's close that out here. All right, because I don't want to get interrupted. So that's the avocado market right here. It says, which is booming strong growth, which is booming strong growth in the globe till 2031. All right. This is written on September 20th, 2023. That is right there. That's just what, 2 weeks ago. And obviously, this is a press release because that's what this is. This is a press release. So it's going to talk it up. I don't really care that it's talked it up because I looked into this before I brought this here. So we have to look at this. Now, let's go back. Okay. We're going to go to the previous page here. And now we're going to look at size of the avocado market in China. All right. Size of the avocado market. According to Chinese customers, China's avocado imports have been stable in 2022, with a slight increase of 3% from January to September compared to the same period last year. In 2021, China imported more than 41,000 metric tons of fresh avocados, close to the record of almost 44,000 metric tons in 2018. Is avocado popular in China? Avocados are increasingly popular among China's new health-conscious middle class. Isn't that funny? You know, the people that have better health than more of the planet, they're kind of health-conscious. Isn't that kind of crazy? Oh, because these agricultural industry viruses and leeches and the pharmaceutical people have infected the entire planet. So yeah, how China's moves to balance African trade are being driven by a taste. Isn't this funny? So let's read this for a second. Now, this is news to me, even this article right here. This is how we do our research. It's saying explore that. Nah, I ain't paying for this one. Yeah, I'm not paying for this one, guys. The avocado has caught on in the Chinese middle class. Good news for Beijing's aims to import $300 billion in African farm produce by 2025. This was written in 2023. So basically the beginning, because this was December. So that means, yeah, you won't be one of the people because they already did that. Tanzania, just wonder, how is that pronounced, has joined Kenya in exporting the superfruit to China, with South Africa also looking for market access. Okay, $300 billion. $300 billion. And this are the avocados, not including the cosmetics. They are just doing the fresh avocados. Because remember, you can up the value chain. It's the price increase with these. Are you willing to make a sacrifice to do this? After more than 2 decades of massive mining infrastructure products, Chinese diplomacy in Africa is being shaped by a new strategy with the avocado at its center. Avocados are increasingly popular and all of that stuff. Okay. All right. This is the South China Morning Post. They already pay us money, bruh. We got an ad right here, but we want you to subscribe right now. They want you to pay money up front. I'm sure there's a back door to get around there, but right now I ain't really too keen on even caring to do that right now. So let's look here. Produce report, because this came out 2 days after. So there's probably a copy paste of that. China's demand for high quality fresh avocados. So you get the point. I don't have to keep going over on this. And yeah, this is the 41,000 of the 44,000. So USDA gain avocado report. Yeah, that's the thing. Now, with all of this trade war thing that really the United States is really being the aggressor for, this is the opportunity. We can be like, hey, look, forget the U.S. We're here. We're closer to you. Closer means fresher food even sooner. So let's go ahead and give you guys what you want. Don't you see that? And then Europe could probably buy some stuff too. But hey, if it's 300 billion going to China, just like how people were like, hey, just want to sell to the U.S., I ain't got a problem with that. Give me 1% of that market. And what is that? I still got $3 billion in revenue coming in. 1% of 300 billion is 3 billion. 10% of 1% is 300,000. 1% of 1% is 30 million US dollars. And if that's 30 million a year, that ain't bad either. Just imagine getting 1% of 1% of the market. And most people are not. Most of you listening are not. Most of you are probably not listening this far in. You're not willing to make the sacrifices. You're not willing to do the research, get the land, sign the contracts, negotiate with the people, go through the conversations. You're going to do this. Talk and talk and talk and talk. And then at the end of the day, one day has gone out of your 5 years of your 1,827 days. And then you're going to end the day and you're going to be like, you know what? You know what? We're going to have this. And I feel accomplished from talking. No, I don't feel accomplished till I accomplish something, guys. You need to be the same way. China's avocado imports from 2017 to here. This is how you do your research. You start looking at the trend. Let's start getting the averages. Let's get the medians out of this. Here's a 5-year window right here. If we could go back further than that, even that's good too. And match up that with the population size. Okay, match it up with the population size. Even try to look at the geopolitical trends around that time to see if you can kind of predict the waves that were going. What was the economies looking like during these years? What was going on? Okay, this was the COVID-19 thing. This was the bounce back from that. They had the zero COVID policy stuff, especially in China, right? Then they kind of lifted it up only earlier or late 2022. So it's like they almost reached their record during zero COVID or something like that. Who knows? Maybe they were like, yo, we're getting kind of chunky. We need to eat something that is healthy, presumably healthy. And so these avocados seem to be good, even though they're kind of fatty from a plant fat type of thing. Kenya this year gained market access to China for fresh avocados and sent its first shipments. The entry of a new avocado supplier in China market could intensify competition for the future. Now, notice this is written from the U.S. perspective. Is called quote unquote intensify, aka make it harder for them. Peru remains the main supplier of avocados to China, followed by Mexico, and Chile. The volume supplied by New Zealand, Colombia, Philippines, and the United States is low. So USA really ain't losing nothing too much. It's low. Okay. What does that mean? You got opportunities, everybody. Initially, Kenyan avocados were reported to be in good condition and reasonably priced, about 8% to 15% lower to Peruvian avocados. So basically, you got to take a slap on the ass. Peru is the main supplier, so they're selling at a higher price. And so in order for you to get in, they're like, hey, Kenya, y'all black, y'all African. So you're going to have to, if you want to get to us, you're going to have to sell at a lower price. That's crazy. Now, Kenya's fresh Hass avocados. Now, Hass avocados are different from other ones. They got the brown ones or the black skin ones and then the green skin ones. I believe the Hass avocados are the ones that are sweeter or they had a different texture, and they're the black skin ones. Those are different. Gain market access to China in June. When was this written? This was December. Yeah. So that was June of 2022. Look, you see, these are some of the things even I don't know here, and I'm figuring this out right now. How does that help me? Okay, now I know that they have to sell about basically 10% cheaper than their competition. Okay, that means out of $300 billion worth is going to be the price discounted in, right? They're going to discount the price in. Once you start to become a bigger name, maybe then you can do an increase in value proposition or something like that, right? And you could do like Peru. Peru has a large market, so they're selling at a higher price because they're like, look, we are the controllers. Okay, great. So Kenya exports 84,000 tons of avocados. Traders in China believe that if the fruit is good quality and will be priced, Kenya could become a very competitive source of fresh avocados. The first batch of avocados flown from Kenya arrived in Shanghai this summer. And there you go. Fresh South African avocados granted China market access. China and South Africa signed avocado export agreement. JD.com seeking stronger ties with South American fruit exporters. There's a bunch of things here that you all can get on top of that are not just, oh, here's an engineering project. Now, like I said, avocado cosmetics. Is there a market for that? Let's look at this. That's the last thing we're going to look at. Are you willing to make that leap? This takes hours and hours and days and weeks of research and implementation. Let's do this right now. Avocado cosmetics market. Oh, it says already it's talking about China, but we're not going to look at that right now because I just searched China. So it says avocado oil. Oh, I forgot about avocado oil. Yeah. Avocado oil market to exceed $1 billion by 2032. Okay. And that's the Global Newswire again, Bazinga, Transparency Market Research. Let's look at the first one right now. All right. All right. Okay. It says avocado-based markets. Okay. Well, is estimated value of over 16.5 billion US dollars in 2021. All right. They said expected to grow basically double 29.9 billion by 2031. So an extra 10 years, you almost doubled it. Okay. Let's see. Based on nature, the organic segment of the market share is 11%. The conventional segment of the market share is 88%. Conventional segment is anticipated to be that. All right. I wonder what country this is talking about because it looks like, yeah. Okay, here it is. In food and beverage industry, it is being used in sauces and dressings and snacks with a combined share more than 50% in the global market. That's what it mainly used. That's how I've consumed avocados. In a sauce, as part of a snack to, with tortillas and all of that stuff. Furthermore, the maximum growth potential is registered by the cosmetics, maximum growth potential. Now you see this by cosmetics and personal care industry at CAGR of that's a compound annual growth rate of 7.3%. Isn't that funny how I know what this stands for? And I didn't have to pause the video. I didn't have to go look it up. That shows you that I do the research on these things. Compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 7.3%. This is very academic. So many of you have gone to sleep. So I understand that this isn't something that a lot of people find sexy. We're not going to have a large crowd of people for that. And that is A-okay with me. All right. That is A-okay with me. But one thing that I do know, in order to get your attention, let's go ahead and do this. All right. Go ahead. Dance it off now, ma'am. There you go. So maybe that puts you to sleep. This will wake you up. Maybe some of these things will wake you up right here. So if we wake you up, we get you, because that's what you're going after. You like, hey, look, I'm trying to get that market. Where the women at? All right, cool. Where we moving into a good neighborhood at? I don't blame you, man. I'm not here to get in the way. That's what you're trying to go after? Fantastic. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and do it. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. So if that's what you're going after, let's go ahead and do this right now, man. Let's do this right now. The avocado market is huge. And don't let the inconvenience of, a little bit of, it being a little bit further in the future get in the way of, hey, look, I'm trying to get the women. I'm trying to smash. I'm trying to get some side chicks over here. Hey, oh, shoot, if that's what you're going to do, hey, do it safely now. Do it safely. But here's how you're going to be able to do that. You follow these steps, go through some of these boring, seemingly boring. To me, this is very exciting. What's more exciting is actually developing and building these things and selling and making that money. But the process of building is very exciting. But I do enjoy reading and learning. But you can get stuck in it. Here are all the avocado-based products that you can make: organic, conventional, by nature, form. The raw avocados is going to be the lowest price. That's going to be the lowest price. The processed ones like oil, guacamole, puree, the puree. When it gets very heavily blended or whatever, those are going to be higher price. But raw avocados is going to be the lowest price point on the totem pole. That's like having raw oil and they export it and then they process it and sell it back to you. Yeah, they do that, in Nigeria and Ghana and other places. That's what they try to do and get over on you. But no more going to the future. So even if you just export raw avocados, you can still make a bunch of money with that. But don't limit yourself to one thing if you can do more. But if you only wanted to do the raw avocados, great. Maybe you partner up with somebody that's a cosmetic industry and you get a contract with them and they got an exclusive contract with you. You grow the avocados to give to them to make their products that they can sell. Now they have a reliable partner. You got reliable money. So no matter, even if the end product, the people that buy it at the supermarket or the stores or the markets, they're gone. They go up and down. You got a reliable partner that's there because people love makeup. People love cosmetics. All right. It says food and beverage, snacks, dairy products, sauces, dresses, all of that stuff. But the highest growth rate potential. Now, that may not be the max money you can get because the growth rate is right there. If it's a high growth rate, that means a new person can come in. If something's growing, let's say 10%, let's say that you were discovering every year 7% new landmass. Well, obviously the old people are there and you kind of have to scrape and fight the old people in the old landmass. But if it's 7% extra landmass, yeah, maybe you got to fight and scrape a little bit for this other to get yourself established there, to grow your property or your country, looking at it like that. But then you got the opportunity to expand your company and territory in this new landmass. That's where that growth potential comes into. That's where that goes. And that's hyper important that if something is not growing, it's dying. And you want to go to something that's growing. The avocado industry is growing. It's just growing faster and higher rates at the personal care and cosmetics portion. Are you willing to put in the work? That's what today's video was about. We've been going at this for a while. What is this? Been 47 minutes now. I think I'm going to end it. This is actually rather short for some of the videos that I make, but that's the price of freedom. A lot of people right now, they're going to listen to this video. This video is going to then end. This video is then going to be over and a wrap. And then what they're going to do is, wow, that was cool. They might even talk about it for a few days, a few weeks, or a few months, and nothing comes of it. 5 years have gone by. They're at the same or worse situation that they are in right now. If you're not growing, you're dying. That's literally how it is. Even if you're growing slowly, you're still growing. If you're not growing, you are dying. You know why? Because other things are growing around you. So if you're not all growing, you're going to get smashed. You're going to get crushed because the pressure of them growing on the left of you, the right of you, behind you, up, down, all around, they're going to smash you and lock and box you. If you're not growing, you're dying. If you don't move forward in this race of life and you stop, right? Then you've now allowed somebody, if they were going the same pace as you, now 1 year you stopped, they are 1 year of whatever pace you were going, 5 miles per hour. That's a slow pace even for running. But maybe if it's a marathon, maybe that's okay for you. So 5 miles per hour. Great. Because remember, 26.2 miles can't be going 5 miles an hour because they finished that in about 2 hours now. So they're basically going over what? 12, 13 miles an hour? They can finish it in two hours or so. They're going 13 miles an hour. That means it'll take you more than double, more than triple, more than 4 times the amount of time to finish it. But hey, you're still going forward if you're going 5 miles an hour. Then you can figure out how to go 5.5. Then you leapfrog to 10. That's what you're supposed to be doing. How to double and triple your progress, aka your income. But if you stop because of some petty thing that you got in your own way about, most likely because of your own deficiency, all of us, then you've now lost that time. Then you got to catch up to the person, and most likely then you stop again. You're like, oh my goodness, I need to catch up to where I was. How many athletes out there are saying, I want to get back to the time I was in high school, get back to the time I was in middle school, get back to the time I was in college? Okay, great. Now they reach back to the time they were, and then all of that work, they only got slightly faster, slightly ahead of where you were, and then they quit again. Because it's still the same mental strain on you to get back to where you were as it was if you never stopped. You were just there and you were going, at least going through the motions. And you're like, you're smashing the ground, hitting the ground, hitting the ground, hitting the ground in this marathon. And you're keeping pace. And you're just like, man, I'm freaking tired. Get some water right there. You might have slowed down just slightly because you wanted to get that rest, but you didn't stop. Or you did one of the, I'm going to speed up real quick. So I grab that water bottle and drink it as they do at these rest stops now in the marathons. And then I can slow back down slightly slower. And then I'm still even at pace. Then now I'm going to pick it up. I'm doubling my speed now. You didn't do that. You stopped. You didn't do it. You stopped. And as a friend of mine said, it's worse to not run and not train than it is to be injured. Because I even understood immediately. And I said, yeah, because if you're injured, you're doing cross training and recovery. You're still training your body. You're still maintaining some strength and growing your strength. You just got hurt and it slowed you down. But when you stop using your muscles, now your muscles are weak. And most likely what's going to happen is you're going to try to catch up to where you were and hurt yourself anyway. So then you increase your risk of injury because you stopped. You lost your fitness. So you're actually weaker than where you were had you just kept through and you got yourself hurt. Sure, you get hurt and then you're just not back to where you were compared to where you didn't stop. But that's not how most people operate. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Most people are not going to be like, yeah, I'll stop and then I'll come back and I'm just good. No, you're going to stop. You're going to compare yourself to where you were. And then you're going to train harder. AKA, I'm going to go harder at the office. I'm going to go harder and cram for this essay, cram for this test. Versus you could have just been doing little by little during the whole year for this final exam, like I did, and I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't study. All I did was skim over some stuff, literally maybe an hour before, the night before. I just skimmed, like literally, I just went over, okay, here. Took me like a few minutes, 5 minutes, could have been 30 if I'm talking to somebody with some friends, and I'm just there. They're cramming, and they're talking to me, slacking off a little bit. Oh my goodness, I got to do this. Versus I'm just like, oh, I'm chill. Oh, you're not studying the whole night, or you're not studying for the last 2 days? No, I'm playing video games. Let me go play on Super Smash Brothers and Halo real quick while you're doing all this. Now, I could have been doing something else with my time. I'm just saying as an example. I could have been doing things more productive, to be honest, especially at that age. But that's how people do. It's not just running. All of these are metaphors for everything. We can see it physically. That's why I love sports. I hate sports, actually, but I love sports from the aspect of it is a representation of us in real life. I hate sports because if somebody's going to value a sport over us being actually productive in life, that's the only part that I hate about it. Otherwise, it's actually pretty good. People distract themselves too much with sports, but that's them. That's their life, and people are going to do what they're going to do. So if you're going to come along with this for this ride, we're on here on day 2, 1,827 days. We only got 1,825 and a half days left over. Are you with us or are you not? Put in the work so you don't have to catch up. Because when you catch up, you still put in that same effort to get back to where you were. Couldn't you have been putting in those 1,000 hours? What if it takes you 1,000 hours? And here's the last point. What if it takes you 1,000 hours to get back to the same time you were when you were in high school? And 1,000 hours is going to be over a period of a few years. You're not going to do all those 1,000 hours at once. Just not happening. Your body's not going to allow you to train more than what 1 or 2 hours. And really, of that 2 hours, you're only putting in, and I mean 1,000 hours of contact time of actually effort of running, coming from a track and field perspective. That means a lot of that time you're resting as well. You might have 6 minutes rest, 8 minutes rest, 2 minutes rest, 30 seconds rest. That time is not counted when you're resting. It's only counted when your feet hit the ground. So that 1,000 hours might take 3 years, and then you finally caught up. Well, depending on how little you train during the week, that might take 5, 6 years. You could have been putting that 1,000 hours, and in that 3, 5, 6 years, you could have been moving ahead. You could have been moving ahead in that 3, 5, 6 years. And that's what I mean. It's harder to see when you're in the office, in the workplace. But the same exact thing is happening in people's relationships, in people's finances, in people's personal lives. That is happening. You just don't see it as much. It's a lot more less tangible. But when we start measuring bank accounts, then that's when it's like the truth serum hits and it's hard. Because you could say, well, I will be doing it. Okay, what's in your bank? Oh, well, you see about that. Well, there you go. So I will catch you all on the next one, guys. Thank you guys for coming out to this. We've been at 55 minutes, 55 seconds, and I'm going to end it right now. Peace.